The summer sun was bright and warm as the black girl stepped off the bus, carrying her small suitcase and a backpack stuffed with clothes and school supplies. She had been waiting for this day for months, looking forward to a break from her usual routine and hoping to make new friends at the summer camp. The air smelled like fresh grass and pine trees, and somewhere nearby, she could hear the faint buzz of bees. She smiled, trying to shake off the nervous feeling in her stomach. This was going to be an adventure. As she walked toward the main camp building, she noticed groups of campers laughing and talking in clusters. Some were playing frisbee, others were exploring the trails, and a few were sitting on benches, chatting. The girl took a deep breath, feeling a mix of excitement and anxiety. She hoped she could find people who were kind and welcoming. She kept her eyes open, looking for someone she could approach, someone who looked friendly. She spotted a small group of girls her age sitting under a tree, giggling and passing around snacks. Summoning her courage, she walked over, smiling politely. "Hi, I'm new here," she said softly. The girls glanced at her, whispering to each other. One of them nodded slowly and said, "Okay, you can sit here if you want." The girl felt a small surge of relief and sat down, trying to join the conversation. But as she started talking, she noticed a group of older campers watching her from a distance. They were leaning against a fence, smirking and whispering to each other. Something about their gaze made her uneasy. She could feel their eyes following her every move. She had learned to trust her instincts, and this feeling told her they were not friendly. Still, she tried to focus on the girls under the tree, hoping to ignore the other group. Over the next few hours, the girl explored the camp, trying to find activities she enjoyed. She joined a nature walk and learned about different plants and animals, and she spent some time at the art station, painting a small picture of the lake surrounded by trees. Each time she looked up, she noticed the same group of older campers lurking around. They seemed to be everywhere she went, always watching, always smirking. She tried not to let it bother her, but the feeling of being watched never left her. During lunch, the girl sat at a picnic table with a few of the other new campers. They talked about their favorite subjects in school and shared funny stories from home. She laughed along, feeling a little more at ease. But she couldn't help noticing the group of older campers again. They were whispering and pointing in her direction. One of them even made a gesture that made her heart race. She didn't know what it meant, but it wasn't friendly. After lunch, the camp counselors announced that it was time for a scavenger hunt. The girls' team included the girls she had met under the tree. They were given a list of items to find around the campgrounds, and the girl felt a spark of excitement. This was her chance to show her skills and maybe make some friends. As they moved through the trails, picking up items and marking them off the list, she tried to stay alert, keeping an eye on the older campers who were still following them from a distance. At one point, the group came across a small area where bees were buzzing around several hives. The girl recognized the type of bees from a book her father had given her. She knew they weren't dangerous if left alone, but she could see the older campers hiding behind a tree, watching her closely. Her heart skipped a beat as she realized they might be planning something. She tried to stay calm, telling herself not to panic. The scavenger hunt continued, and the girl focused on finding items with her team. She noticed how some of the older campers were moving closer, trying to block paths and make the hunt more difficult. It was clear they were targeting her, but she kept her head down, determined not to give them the satisfaction of seeing her scared. She remembered the advice her father had given her about dealing with bullies. Stay calm, think ahead, and don't let them control your emotions. By the end of the scavenger hunt, her team had found almost everything on the list. They returned to the main camp area, tired but happy. The girl felt proud of herself for staying focused and not letting the older campers ruin her day. She noticed the counselors congratulating the teams and handing out small prizes. She smiled, feeling a sense of accomplishment. But in the back of her mind, she couldn't shake the feeling that the older campers were not done with her. As the day came to a close, the girl headed toward her cabin with the other campers. She unpacked her things and got settled, feeling a little more comfortable in her new surroundings. The sun was beginning to set, casting a golden glow over the camp. She looked out the window and saw the older campers lingering near the bee area, whispering and pointing in her direction. Her stomach tightened, but she reminded herself to stay calm. She knew that tomorrow might bring challenges, but she also knew she was ready to face them. Before going to bed, the girl wrote in her journal about her first day at camp. She wrote about the friends she had made, the fun activities, and the strange feeling of being watched. She also wrote about the older campers and how she planned to stay safe and confident. Writing helped her organize her thoughts and calm her nerves. She closed her journal and took a deep breath, feeling a mix of excitement and determination for the days ahead. As she drifted off to sleep, the girl imagined the adventures she would have at camp. She knew there would be challenges, but she also knew she had the courage and intelligence to face them. She thought about the bees she had seen today and remembered her father's lessons about staying calm in difficult situations. She felt a sense of pride in herself, knowing that she could handle whatever came her way. The first day at camp had been a mix of excitement and tension, but the girl felt ready for what was to come. She knew the older campers were watching her, but she also knew that she was not helpless. With her father's guidance in mind and her own determination, she was prepared to face the challenges of the coming days. She closed her eyes, ready to rest, and let the sounds of the camp lull her to sleep, dreaming of new friends, adventures, and the courage she would need to stay strong. The next morning, the girl woke up feeling a mix of excitement and nervousness. She knew today would be another day of adventure at camp, but she also remembered the older campers who had been watching her closely the day before. She dressed quickly, put on her sneakers, and headed out of the cabin. The morning air was cool and fresh, and she could hear birds singing as the sun began to rise. She took a deep breath, determined to enjoy her day and stay alert. Breakfast was lively, with campers chatting and laughing over pancakes and fruit. The girl sat at a table with her friends from the day before, smiling as they shared stories about their homes and their favorite hobbies. She felt a sense of belonging and was happy to have found people who made her feel welcome. But as she looked around the dining area, she noticed the older campers again, sitting together and whispering while glancing in her direction. Her stomach tightened, but she reminded herself to stay calm and focused. After breakfast, the camp counselors announced a special outdoor activity, a nature challenge that would take campers through trails, streams, and meadows. The girl was excited to participate, especially because it meant exploring parts of the camp she hadn't seen before. She joined her friends, and together they listened carefully as the counselors explained the rules. They would have to complete small tasks along the way, like identifying plants, spotting animals, and crossing certain obstacles. The challenge sounded fun, and she was eager to prove herself. As they started the trail, the girl noticed the older campers had positioned themselves near a narrow path where the trail led past a small bee area. She could see the hives from a distance and immediately recognized the bees. Her heart began to race slightly, but she remembered her father's advice about staying calm in tricky situations. She whispered to her friends to stay close together and walk carefully, making sure not to disturb the bees. They followed the trail, watching every step, while the older campers lurked behind trees and rocks, whispering to each other. At one point, the trail split into two directions. The girls' group chose the path that led closer to the bee area. She could hear the buzzing growing louder, and she realized the older campers were trying to guide them into a spot where they might get frightened by the bees. She felt a twinge of fear but quickly pushed it aside. She remembered how to move calmly around bees, keeping her movements slow and steady. She told her friends to do the same, and they walked carefully, keeping their eyes on the ground and their voices low. The older campers were growing impatient. They whispered and gestured, trying to make the group veer off course and into the hives. But the girl stayed calm, her mind working quickly. She noticed a fallen branch that could act as a small barrier between the bees and her group. She signaled to her friends, and together they used the branch to guide themselves safely past the hives. The older campers' expressions changed from amusement to frustration as they realized their plan wasn't working. The girl felt a surge of confidence and pride. She knew she had outsmarted them without panicking. Further along the trail, the girls' group had to cross a small stream. The water was shallow but slippery, and she helped her friends step carefully from rock to rock. The older campers were trying to block their way, but the girl was quick and clever. She spotted an alternate route and led her friends safely across, leaving the older campers unable to interfere. She felt a sense of satisfaction knowing that she had kept everyone safe and completed the task successfully. During a short break, the girl and her friends sat on the grass, drinking water and catching their breath. She noticed the older campers still following them at a distance, whispering and laughing. She could see that they were starting to realize she was not an easy target. She felt a sense of calm determination. She knew she could handle whatever they planned next, and she was ready to protect herself and her friends if needed. The trail continued, taking them through a meadow filled with wildflowers and tall grass. Butterflies danced around, and the girl paused for a moment to admire the colors. She felt a small sense of peace amidst the tension. But she knew the older campers were still nearby, watching her every move. She whispered to her friends to stay alert and stick together. They moved forward cautiously, enjoying the beauty of the meadow while remaining aware of potential dangers. As they approached a clearing, the older campers made their move. They stepped out from behind trees, trying to surround the girl and her friends. The girl's heart pounded, but she remembered her father's advice. Stay calm, think ahead, and don't show fear. She took a deep breath and assessed the situation. The older campers were trying to intimidate them, but she knew they were not truly dangerous if handled carefully. Thinking quickly, the girl spotted a path that led around the clearing and offered a way to escape the trap. She signaled to her friends and led them along the alternate route. The older campers were momentarily confused, unsure of which direction to follow. The girl used the moment to guide her friends safely away, keeping their pace steady and controlled. She felt a surge of pride knowing that she had outsmarted them once again. Once they were safely past the clearing, the girls' group found a quiet spot near a small grove of trees. They took a moment to rest and recover, feeling relieved to be out of immediate danger. The girl's friends praised her quick thinking and bravery, making her feel proud and supported. She smiled, realizing that staying calm and thinking ahead had made all the difference. As they continued the trail, the girl remained alert, watching for any signs of the older campers. She noticed them lingering behind, whispering and pointing, clearly frustrated that their plan had failed. The girl felt a sense of satisfaction knowing that she had maintained control of the situation. She also felt a growing confidence in herself and her abilities. By the end of the nature challenge, the girls' group had completed all the tasks successfully. The counselors congratulated them, praising their teamwork and problem-solving skills. The girl felt a sense of pride and accomplishment, knowing that she had led her friends safely through the challenge. She also felt a sense of relief that the older campers had not been able to harm or scare anyone. After the activity, the girl and her friends returned to the main camp area, tired but happy. They shared stories about the challenge and laughed together, feeling closer as a group. The girl felt a sense of belonging and knew that she had made real friends who would support her. She also knew that she had proven to herself that she could handle difficult situations with calm and intelligence. That evening, the girl reflected on the day while writing in her journal. She described the nature challenge, the obstacles they had faced, and how she had guided her friends safely. She also wrote about the older campers and how she had stayed calm and clever in the face of their intimidation. Writing helped her process the events and reinforced her confidence. She closed her journal, feeling proud and ready for the next day at camp. As she lay in bed, the girl thought about the lessons she had learned. She realized that courage wasn't about being fearless, but about staying calm and thinking clearly when faced with challenges. She knew that tomorrow might bring new tests, but she also knew that she had the strength and intelligence to face them. She drifted off to sleep with a sense of determination and excitement for the adventures ahead, knowing that she was capable of handling whatever came her way. The morning sun cast a warm glow over the campgrounds as the girl stepped outside her cabin. Today, she knew, might be more challenging than yesterday. The older campers were still lingering, and she could feel their eyes on her from a distance. She tightened the straps on her backpack and walked with purpose, keeping her head held high. She reminded herself that she was not afraid, even if they tried to intimidate her. Today, she would stay alert and think ahead. Breakfast was lively as always. Campers chatted excitedly about the day's plans, and the girl joined her friends at their usual table. They discussed the activities scheduled for the morning, including an obstacle course and a team-building challenge. The girl's friends looked excited, and she felt a spark of determination. She was ready to face the day and show that she could handle anything that came her way. But as she ate, she noticed the older campers at the far end of the dining hall, whispering and laughing while occasionally glancing in her direction. The girl's stomach tightened, but she reminded herself to stay calm. After breakfast, the counselors led the campers to a large open field for the obstacle course. The girls' team gathered together, listening carefully to the instructions. The course included balance beams, rope swings, crawling under nets, and climbing over walls. The girl's heart raced with excitement and a little nervousness. She knew she would have to stay focused to complete the course safely. As the team prepared to start, she noticed the older campers standing near the edges of the field, watching intently. It was clear they were planning to interfere, but the girl was determined not to let them succeed. The first part of the course was a balance beam over a shallow stream. The girl stepped onto the beam carefully, remembering to keep her movements steady. She encouraged her friends to take their time and focus on each step. The older campers moved closer, whispering and trying to distract them. But the girl ignored them, focusing entirely on the beam. One by one, her friends crossed safely, and she felt a sense of pride. The bully's plan was already being foiled by her calm and careful approach. Next was the rope swing over a small patch of mud. The girl watched the first friend attempt it, swinging carefully to land safely on the other side. When it was her turn, she took a deep breath and jumped, swinging gracefully and landing on solid ground. Her friends cheered, and the older campers' smirks began to fade. The girl felt a surge of confidence. She was proving to herself and everyone watching that she was capable of handling challenges without fear. The course continued with a net crawl, where the campers had to move under a rope net stretched low to the ground. The girl led her friends, demonstrating the best way to move quickly without getting stuck. The older campers tried to rush toward the net, hoping to scare them or trip someone, but the girls' team stayed together and moved efficiently. She could see the frustration building on the older campers' faces. They realized that their intimidation tactics were not working, and the girl felt a quiet satisfaction. The final challenge was a small wall climb. The girl and her friends took turns scaling the wall, helping each other up when necessary. When it was her turn, she remembered her father's advice about focus and patience. She gripped the edges firmly, lifted herself carefully, and pulled herself over to the other side. Her friends clapped and cheered, and she felt a wave of pride. She had completed the course successfully, and the bullies had been powerless to stop her. After the obstacle course, the counselors praised all the teams for their effort and teamwork. The girl's friends were particularly impressed with her leadership and calmness under pressure. She felt a warm sense of belonging and accomplishment. But she also knew the older campers were still watching, and she stayed alert, ready for whatever they might try next. In the afternoon, the campers were scheduled for a nature scavenger hunt, exploring the woods to find specific plants and rocks. The girls' team gathered together, excited for the challenge. They moved carefully through the trees, pointing out interesting plants and helping each other identify the items on the list. The older campers followed at a distance, whispering and occasionally stepping into the path, trying to create obstacles. The girl remained focused, guiding her friends around any difficulties and keeping everyone calm. At one point, the team approached the area near the beehives again. The buzzing was louder now, and she could see the older campers hiding behind the trees, whispering and pointing. She felt a twinge of fear but quickly pushed it aside. She reminded her friends to stay calm and move slowly, keeping their eyes on the path ahead. The girl led them carefully past the hives, using fallen branches and rocks as shields to guide them safely. The older campers' frustration was evident as their plan failed once more. The girl felt a growing sense of pride and confidence. As they continued, the girls' group had to cross a small stream. She helped her friend step carefully from rock to rock, maintaining balance and focus. The older campers tried to block the path, but the girl noticed an alternate route that allowed them to bypass the obstacle safely. She signaled to her friends, and they followed her, avoiding any trouble. The older campers were left behind, muttering and clearly annoyed. The girl felt a quiet satisfaction, knowing she had handled the situation wisely. The scavenger hunt took them through a meadow filled with wildflowers and tall grass. Butterflies danced around, and the girl paused for a moment to enjoy the beauty. She felt a sense of calm and peace, even with the bullies nearby. She reminded her friends to stay alert but also to appreciate the small joys of the day. The older campers remained a distant threat, but the girl felt in control of the situation. She had learned to face challenges calmly and thoughtfully. As the scavenger hunt ended, the counselors gathered the campers and reviewed their findings. The girls' team had completed the hunt successfully, finding nearly all the items on the list. The counselors praised their teamwork, problem-solving skills, and careful approach. The girl felt proud, knowing that she had led her friends safely and effectively through the challenge. Her confidence grew, and she realized that she could handle difficult situations without fear. Later in the evening, the campers returned to their cabins. The girl unpacked her bag and wrote in her journal about the day's events. She described the obstacle course, the scavenger hunt, and how she had guided her friends safely. She also wrote about the older campers and their failed attempts to intimidate her. Writing helped her process the day and reinforced her confidence. She felt proud of herself and grateful for her friends' support. As she lay in bed, the girl reflected on the lessons she had learned. She realized that courage and intelligence were more powerful than fear and intimidation. She thought about her father's advice and how it had helped her stay calm and think clearly. She knew that tomorrow might bring new challenges, but she felt ready to face them. She drifted off to sleep with a sense of determination and excitement, knowing that she was capable of handling whatever came her way. The morning was bright and warm as the girl stepped outside her cabin. She felt a mixture of excitement and determination. Yesterday had tested her, and today she expected even more challenges. She knew the older campers were watching her closely, and she could feel their presence as she walked toward the main camp area. Her mind was focused on staying calm and ready for anything. She adjusted her backpack and took a deep breath, preparing herself for the day. Breakfast was busy and full of chatter. The girl sat with her friends, sharing laughs and talking about the day's upcoming activities. Today, the counselors had planned a special teamwork challenge, and the campers were buzzing with excitement. The girl felt a spark of anticipation. She knew she would have to stay alert, especially with the older campers lurking nearby. She kept an eye on them as she ate, noticing how they whispered and glanced in her direction, clearly plotting something. After breakfast, the counselors led the campers to a large clearing near the woods. Today's challenge was designed to test teamwork, strategy, and problem-solving. The girls' team gathered together, listening carefully as the counselors explained the rules. They would have to navigate through a series of obstacles, solve riddles, and collect specific items hidden around the clearing. The girl's friends looked to her for guidance, and she felt a quiet sense of responsibility. She knew that staying calm and focused would be key. As the challenge began, the girl noticed the older campers moving closer, trying to position themselves near one of the obstacles, a small area filled with bees. Her heart raced, but she remembered her father's advice about staying composed in difficult situations. She whispered to her friends to stick close together and move slowly, keeping their eyes on the ground and avoiding sudden movements. They carefully made their way toward the obstacle, aware of the buzzing sound and the bullies nearby. The older campers stepped out from behind trees, trying to block the path and intimidate the girls' team. They laughed and whispered threats, hoping to scare them. The girl felt a moment of fear but quickly pushed it aside. She looked at her friends, who were counting on her, and took a deep breath. Thinking quickly, she guided them around the hives, using fallen branches and rocks as shields. The older campers were frustrated, realizing that their plan was failing. The girl felt a surge of confidence as they moved safely past the bees. Just as the team thought they were safe, the older campers tried a new tactic. They began circling the group, attempting to trap them in a corner of the clearing. The girl's heart pounded, but she stayed calm. She scanned the area and noticed a small path leading to a cluster of trees that could provide cover. She signaled to her friends, and they moved quietly but quickly along the path, avoiding the bullies and keeping their distance from the bees. The older campers were momentarily confused, giving the girls' team a chance to escape. Suddenly, the sound of a vehicle approaching echoed through the clearing. The older campers froze, and the girl felt a glimmer of hope. She recognized the familiar figure stepping out of the car, her father. He had been informed of potential bullying threats at the camp and had come to make sure she was safe. The bullies' expressions changed instantly from smugness to panic. They realized they had underestimated her and that her father was not someone to mess with. The girl's father approached calmly, his presence commanding attention. The older campers stepped back, unsure of what to do. The girl felt a sense of relief and pride, knowing that she was supported and protected. Her father glanced at her with a reassuring smile, and she felt her confidence grow even stronger. She knew she could face challenges, and now she had the support of someone who could intervene if necessary. Her father spoke to the counselors, who quickly organized the campers and ensured that the older campers were held accountable for their actions. The bullies tried to explain themselves, but their attempts fell flat. The counselors made it clear that intimidation and bullying were not acceptable at the camp. The girl watched as the older campers were guided away, feeling a mixture of satisfaction and relief. She had faced the threat calmly, and her father's presence had reinforced her sense of security. The rest of the challenge continued, and the girls' team worked together efficiently, solving riddles and collecting items from around the clearing. Her father observed from a distance, offering guidance only when necessary. The girl felt a sense of pride as she led her friends through each obstacle, demonstrating courage, intelligence, and quick thinking. The older campers were no longer a threat, and the girl felt a newfound sense of empowerment. As the challenge came to an end, the counselors gathered all the campers to review their performance. The girls' team had completed the course successfully, earning praise for their teamwork and problem-solving skills. The counselors specifically mentioned the girls' leadership and calm approach in handling obstacles and challenges. Her friends cheered, congratulating her, and the girl felt a deep sense of accomplishment. She knew that she had handled the situation with courage and intelligence. Later in the afternoon, the campers had free time to enjoy activities of their choice. The girl chose to explore the nearby trails with her friends, feeling more confident than ever. They walked together, pointing out interesting plants and animals, and sharing stories. The older campers were no longer following them, having been disciplined by the counselors. The girl felt a sense of relief and freedom, knowing that she could enjoy her time at camp without fear. As the sun began to set, the girl returned to her cabin and wrote in her journal. She described the events of the day, including the obstacle challenge, the bee incident, and her father's timely arrival. She reflected on the lessons she had learned about courage, quick thinking, and staying calm under pressure. Writing helped her process the day and reinforced her confidence. She closed her journal with a smile, feeling proud of herself and grateful for her father's support. Before going to bed, the girl looked out the window at the campgrounds. The warm glow of the sunset cast long shadows across the field, and she felt a sense of peace. She thought about the challenges she had faced and the ways she had overcome them. She knew that tomorrow might bring new adventures and obstacles, but she felt ready. With her father's guidance and her own determination, she was confident that she could handle anything that came her way. She lay down, feeling calm and secure, and drifted off to sleep, dreaming of the adventures that awaited her at camp. The next morning, the girl woke up feeling confident and ready for the day. Yesterday had been challenging, but she had handled everything calmly and intelligently. She knew that the older campers were still around, but she also knew that her father's visit had shown them that she was not someone to be underestimated. She dressed quickly and walked outside her cabin, taking a deep breath of the fresh morning air. Today, she would continue to enjoy camp while staying alert for any new challenges. Breakfast was full of chatter and laughter. The girl sat with her friends, sharing stories about the previous day's activities and laughing at little jokes. She felt a warm sense of belonging, but her eyes still scanned the dining area, and she noticed the older campers whispering in a corner, glancing at her occasionally. She could feel their resentment, but she reminded herself not to react. Staying calm and composed was her best approach. After breakfast, the counselors announced a special teamwork exercise. It involved building small rafts to cross a shallow lake. The girls' team was excited, and she felt a spark of determination. She knew the challenge would test their problem-solving skills, teamwork, and ability to remain calm under pressure. The girls' friends looked to her for guidance, and she felt ready to lead them through the activity successfully. The group made their way to the lake, where pieces of wood, ropes, and barrels were spread out. The girl immediately assessed the materials and began giving instructions to her friends. They worked together efficiently, tying the wood and barrels to form sturdy rafts. She reminded everyone to check each knot carefully, ensuring the raft would hold. Her father's lessons about thinking ahead and staying calm under pressure came to mind, and she applied them carefully. Meanwhile, the older campers had moved closer to the lake, clearly hoping to intimidate or sabotage the girls' team. They whispered and gestured, trying to distract the group. The girl noticed their movements but kept her focus on the task. She signaled her friends to ignore the bullies and continue building. Step by step, the raft began to take shape, and she felt a quiet sense of pride in their teamwork. When the rafts were ready, the teams took turns crossing the lake. The girl stepped onto the raft carefully, balancing herself as her friends followed. The older campers tried to disrupt them by shouting and making gestures from the shore. The girl stayed calm, keeping her eyes on the far side of the lake and moving steadily. One by one, her friends reached the other side safely, and the bullies' frustration grew. The girl felt a sense of satisfaction, knowing that staying calm and focused had allowed them to succeed. Once all the rafts had crossed, the counselors gathered the campers for feedback. They praised the girls' team for their problem-solving skills, leadership, and ability to remain calm under pressure. Her friends cheered, congratulating her on her guidance. The girl felt proud, realizing that her intelligence and composure had made a real difference. She also felt relieved that the older campers had not succeeded in causing any harm. In the afternoon, the campers had free time, and the girl chose to explore a trail near the edge of the camp. She enjoyed the quiet of the forest, listening to birds singing and the rustle of leaves in the wind. Her friends followed, and they laughed together as they discovered small flowers and interesting rocks. The girl felt a sense of peace, knowing that she could enjoy these moments without fear. The older campers were keeping their distance, discouraged by their previous failures. Suddenly, from behind a cluster of trees, the older campers appeared, attempting one last effort to intimidate the girl. They blocked the narrow trail, laughing and trying to corner her and her friends. The girl's heart raced, but she stayed calm. She remembered her father's advice about thinking ahead and not showing fear. She quickly assessed the situation, looking for a way to lead her friends safely past them. The girl spotted a small side path leading around the trees. She whispered instructions to her friends, and they followed quietly but quickly. The older campers moved to block the path, but the girl was faster and more focused. She guided her friends around obstacles, keeping them safe and calm. The bullies' expressions changed from confidence to panic as they realized they had underestimated her once again. At that moment, her father appeared from the main camp area. His presence was commanding, and the older campers froze in surprise and fear. They had not expected him to arrive so quickly. The girl felt a wave of relief and pride. She had handled the situation calmly and cleverly, and now her father's presence reinforced the lesson that bullying was unacceptable. The older campers stepped back, unsure of what to do next. Her father spoke to the counselors, who quickly organized the situation and ensured the older campers were held accountable. The bullies tried to explain themselves, but their excuses were dismissed. The girl watched as they were guided away, feeling a mixture of satisfaction and relief. She had faced the threat intelligently and bravely, and her father's timely intervention had made it clear that she was protected and respected. After the confrontation, the girl and her friends returned to their activities, feeling a sense of triumph. The counselors praised her for her leadership, quick thinking, and courage in handling the situation with the bullies. Her friends cheered, acknowledging her strength and intelligence. The girl felt a warm sense of pride, knowing she had not only protected herself but also guided her friends safely through a difficult challenge. Later, the campers gathered around the campfire for the evening story session. The girl sat with her friends, feeling relaxed and content. The older campers were kept at a distance, unable to disrupt the peaceful atmosphere. As the fire crackled and the counselors shared stories, the girl reflected on the day. She thought about how staying calm, thinking ahead, and using intelligence had allowed her to overcome challenges. She realized that true courage was not about being fearless but about facing challenges with a clear mind and determination. Before going to bed, the girl wrote in her journal, recounting the events of the day. She described the raft building, the lake crossing, and the final confrontation with the older campers. She reflected on how her calmness and quick thinking had helped her navigate the situation successfully. Writing helped her process the day and reinforced her confidence. She closed the journal with a smile, feeling proud of herself and grateful for her father's support. As she lay in bed, the girl thought about the lessons she had learned. She understood that challenges could come from unexpected places, but staying calm, thinking ahead, and trusting her abilities could help her overcome them. She felt prepared for whatever might happen in the days to come. With a sense of determination and excitement, she closed her eyes and drifted off to sleep, dreaming of the adventures and lessons that awaited her at camp. The morning sun rose over the camp, casting a warm, golden light across the fields and cabins. The girl woke up feeling calm and confident, reflecting on all the challenges she had faced in the past few days. She stretched and took a deep breath, enjoying the fresh morning air. Today, she knew, was going to be a day to celebrate her progress, enjoy the camp, and reflect on the lessons she had learned. She dressed quickly and headed outside, ready to start the day. Breakfast was lively, filled with chatter and laughter from all the campers. The girl joined her friends at their usual table, sharing stories and talking about their favorite moments from the week. She felt a warm sense of connection and belonging. The older campers, who had been causing trouble, were noticeably quiet and distant, still aware of the presence of her father and the consequences of their actions. The girl felt a quiet satisfaction knowing that the bullies could no longer intimidate her or her friends. After breakfast, the camp counselors announced a special activity for the last day, a scavenger hunt and team challenge combining skills they had learned over the week. The girls' team gathered, excited and focused. They would have to navigate the trails, solve puzzles, and find hidden items throughout the campgrounds. The girl felt a surge of excitement and determination. She knew that this final challenge would be a chance to demonstrate all the lessons she had learned, staying calm, thinking ahead, and leading her friends effectively. The group set off along the trails, moving carefully and keeping an eye out for the items on the scavenger hunt list. The girl led the way, pointing out hidden markers and offering strategies to solve the riddles. Her friends followed her closely, trusting her judgment and feeling inspired by her calm confidence. The older campers were still around, lingering at a distance, but they no longer tried to interfere. They had learned that their intimidation would not work, and the girl's courage and intelligence had earned respect. As they progressed through the challenges, the girls' team came to the area near the beehives once again. The buzzing sound reminded her of the earlier days when the older campers had tried to scare her. She smiled to herself, remembering how she had stayed calm and used her knowledge to navigate past the hives safely. She led her friends carefully around the hives, using fallen branches and rocks for protection. The experience made her feel proud of herself, knowing that she had turned a scary moment into a lesson in courage and intelligence. Further along the trail, the team faced a small stream that needed to be crossed. The girl assessed the situation and found safe stepping stones for her friends. She guided each of them across carefully, ensuring no one slipped or lost their balance. The older campers watched from the distance, clearly impressed by the girl's leadership and careful thinking. She felt a quiet sense of accomplishment as they all reached the other side safely, proud of how she had helped her friends navigate the obstacle. The scavenger hunt continued with puzzles and clues that required teamwork and clear thinking. The girl encouraged her friends, helping them stay focused and organized. They worked together to solve each challenge, using their combined skills to find all the hidden items. The girl felt a sense of pride and joy, knowing that her guidance had contributed to their success. She also realized how much she had grown over the past week, learning to trust herself and her abilities. As the hunt neared its end, the team approached a final challenge, a small climbing wall that required coordination and teamwork. The girl assessed the situation and helped her friends climb safely, offering encouragement and advice. When it was her turn, she scaled the wall with ease, using her strength and focus to reach the top. Her friends cheered, and the older campers, who were watching quietly, could not hide their admiration. The girl felt a strong sense of achievement, knowing that she had successfully completed the challenge and led her friends to success. After finishing the scavenger hunt, the counselors gathered all the campers to review the results. The girls' team had completed every task successfully, demonstrating teamwork, intelligence, and courage. The counselors praised the girl for her leadership, quick thinking, and calm approach to challenges. Her friends celebrated with her, sharing smiles and laughter. The girl felt proud, realizing that she had not only navigated the obstacles of camp, but had also grown stronger and more confident through each experience. In the afternoon, the campers were given free time to enjoy the campgrounds. The girl and her friends explored the trails, picking flowers, skipping stones, and laughing together. The older campers were noticeably quiet, no longer causing trouble. The girl felt a sense of peace, knowing that the challenges of the past week had taught her important lessons about courage, patience, and intelligence. She also felt grateful for her father, whose guidance and support had helped her remain calm and confident. As the sun began to set, the camp gathered for a closing ceremony. Campers shared their experiences, celebrated their accomplishments, and thanked the counselors for their guidance. The girl listened to others speak, feeling proud of how far she had come. When it was her turn, she shared her story calmly and confidently, describing how she had faced challenges, stayed composed, and helped her friends navigate difficult situations. The other campers listened with admiration, and the counselors praised her leadership and bravery. After the ceremony, the campers enjoyed a final campfire. The girl sat with her friends, feeling relaxed and content. They shared stories, laughed, and reflected on the lessons they had learned over the week. The girl thought about the older campers and how their attempts to intimidate her had ultimately taught her resilience and courage. She realized that facing challenges with calm and intelligence was more powerful than reacting with fear or anger. Before heading to her cabin for the last time, the girl wrote in her journal. She described the final day's events, the scavenger hunt, the climbing wall, and the closing ceremony. She reflected on her growth over the week, the lessons she had learned, and the confidence she had gained. Writing helped her process her experiences and reinforced her sense of achievement. She closed her journal with a smile, feeling proud of herself and ready for the journey home. As she lay in bed that final night at camp, the girl thought about everything she had accomplished. She realized that challenges were a part of life, but staying calm, thinking ahead, and trusting her abilities could help her overcome any obstacle. She felt a deep sense of pride, knowing that she had faced fear, led her friends, and earned respect through courage and intelligence. With a feeling of peace and accomplishment, she closed her eyes, ready to sleep and dream about the adventures, lessons, and growth that had made her time at camp unforgettable.